Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Everyone loves seeing butterflies in the garden. Today we're going to talk about monarchs. Also, many people like to plant heirloom varieties, but what does that mean? And are heirlooms the best choice? That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mary Smith. Mary is an animal curator at Lichterman Nature Center, and Carol Reese is here. Carol is a UT Extension horticulture specialist. Thanks for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, Mary, so monarchs, can you give us a little brief life history of the monarchs?
Sure. Monarchs are a large butterfly that people see often in their gardens, and it's really charismatic and colorful, and it has a unique life history too. It's a migrating butterfly, which there's a few that migrate, but what's really interesting about the monarch is it only migrates to Mexico every 4th generation.
Okay.
And that super generation, as we call it, lives maybe 4 to 6 months, where most of the ones that we see are only living a few weeks. So it's a really unique butterfly that unfortunately is in decline in the eastern United States. So what's really important, and I think we'll talk about it in just a minute, is how to attract them to your own backyard.
Okay. Why the decline, though?
Well, the decline is for a couple different reasons. One of it is a loss of overwintering habitat in central Mexico due to some illegal logging, which we can't do a lot about that. But what we can do is we're losing a lot of what the caterpillars eat, which is milkweed. And so we've lost a lot of that habitat. And also weather can really affect monarchs too. And so cold winters in Mexico and then during migration can affect them too. So those are the main reasons why the population has declined.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the life cycle.
Okay. So the life cycle is pretty unique. One monarch butterfly can lay about 200 to 300 eggs.
Wow.
And what's really amazing about that too is they only lay 1 egg per leaf. So just one monarch needs a lot of milkweed to lay the eggs. A few days after they lay the eggs, they hatch and turn into a caterpillar. And that caterpillar, over about a 2 weeks' time, is going to grow about 2,000 times its original size. And how they do that is they're going to be just eating away at milkweed. And so they go through about 5 stages, or 5 instars, which is the stage in between their molts. And they're just eating and getting bigger. And then after about 2 weeks, they're going to form what we call a J shape. So they're going to find either the underside of a leaf, or maybe even a pot, or under the eaves of your house. And they're going to form a chrysalis. And so a chrysalis is a little bit different than a cocoon. A cocoon is what a moth forms, and a chrysalis is what a butterfly forms.
How about that? That's so neat.
Yeah, so this is a newly formed chrysalis, just formed over the last couple of days. This is a monarch chrysalis. And what happens is they undergo a number of changes inside of this chrysalis. And after about 9 to 14 days, they're going to emerge as the adult butterfly.
9 to 14 days.
9 to 14 days. So the whole process from egg to adult butterfly usually takes about a month. So this is a really unique chrysalis too, as we were talking about earlier. Most of the chrysalis are really camouflaged, so they're going to be brown or look like a crinkled up leaf, whereas the monarch is a little bit different. It's this bright green, it's got some gold accent on it, and just really, to me, it looks like a really nice piece of jewelry.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
So that, so they're just undergoing some changes inside there and turning into a butterfly.
Okay. Wow, it's a beautiful butterfly
Yes.
at that.
Yeah. Another really unique thing about the monarch is that you can actually tell the males from the females.
Okay.
In a lot of butterflies, there's not much of a difference, but in monarchs, you can tell the difference between the males and the females. And so males are going to have 2 scent pouches, which are here and here. The females do not have those scent pouches. So it's pretty neat. You can tell the difference between the males and the females just by those 2 black spots there.
And that's it?
That's it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, both going to be about the same size. Both visit the same types of flowers, but just those 2 scent pouches are the difference.
Oh, okay. So how do we attract these wonderful butterflies to our
I
garden?
love talking about this because
Sure.
we've lost so much habitat. What we can do is we can plant things to attract them in our own backyards.
Okay.
The number one thing you want to plant if you want to attract monarchs is milkweed.
Okay.
And milkweed gets its name because if you pull a leaf off, it has kind of a milky sap that comes out. And that's actually really important for the caterpillar because it contains a toxin that makes the caterpillar taste really bad to predators like birds. And so that's what the monarch caterpillars are eating. And so we have a variety of different milkweeds here in the Mid-South that do really well. This one here that the caterpillar's on is common milkweed.
Okay.
And if you've got the space, this is a great one. It not only serves as a plant that the caterpillars eat, but the adult butterflies will also visit the plant whenever it's blooming.
Okay.
So common milkweed, it does get kind of tall. It can get about 5 to 6 feet, but it does get a nice ball, pinkish purple bloom on it. Another one, this is a non-native plant, but a lot of people like this one. It's a tropical milkweed. It grows really fast and it blooms throughout the summer. The one thing you may want to do is clip off the flowers in maybe late September, October, and that will keep the monarchs moving south during their migration. We also have a swamp milkweed, or rose milkweed, green antelope horn milkweed, butterfly weed. This is one that has the bright orange flowers. It's more low growing, maybe
Pretty
about
colors.
2 feet.
My goodness.
That's UT orange.
Yeah, UT orange. There you go.
In addition to the milkweeds are going to attract the females to lay their eggs as well as a nectar source. You want to look at some nectar sources, especially fall blooming ones that are going to get monarchs as they're migrating south.
Okay.
And so some things as they're first getting to Memphis, things like coreopsis, mistflower, yarrow, pickerel weed if you have a pond or a water feature. Those are great spring blooming ones. And then in the fall, you want to look at things like blazing star, bee balm, buttonbush. Those are all going to be nectar sources.
Goldenrod.
Yeah,
Goldenrod.
goldenrod. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
And the benefit to planting those too is you're not going to just attract monarchs, but you're going to attract a variety of different butterflies as well.
Okay. Wow. So growing conditions, full sun?
Yeah, most milkweeds are going to be full sun. So if you've got a nice sunny spot, some of them do okay in pots. I've grown the tropical in pots before, but a lot of them do great in the ground, and they're going to come back year after year.
Sure. So how many generations again?
Well, there's about 4 to 5 generations. It starts with the first generation that is migrating from Mexico to maybe the Texas coast, and then each subsequent generation moves a little bit further north until they get about to the Canadian border, which is the northern limit of milkweed.
Okay.
That 4th or 5th generation is a super generation, and that generation is going to migrate all the way down to central Mexico. Passing through Memphis, usually we peak in late September, early October.
All right. Well, we appreciate that information again, but I do like super generation. I think that's pretty neat. Thanks again, Mary. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. Hi, Miss Carol. Heirloom varieties. And of course, people always say, hey, the best tasting, tomatoes are heirloom varieties. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm glad people are excited about the heirlooms because a lot of people are gardening now that maybe hadn't gardened. And I think the food is really drawing a lot of people in, and I'm glad about that. And heirlooms are wonderful and fun to play with, and they're quite yummy. But the truth is they can be more difficult to grow because a lot of them don't have the disease resistance that people have worked toward breeding. And especially for those of us who are trying to grow things more organically, if we get those plants that have been bred to be disease resistant, then we're one step forward already. So I'm not against the heirlooms, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the truth is, if you research it, a lot of times in blind taste tests, people can't tell any difference or may even prefer the highly bred disease resistant types.
How about that?
I know. So I kind of challenge everybody out there because a lot of people want to argue with me. Oh no, I swear by my Cherokee purple.
Yes.
I swear by my old German striped. And grow them, grow whatever you love. I'm not telling anybody what to do. But if you do want to improve your chances and not have to spray as often, then probably selecting those that have been bred for disease resistant might give you a leg up and you will not be sacrificing flavor.
Good.
So it'd be fun to do your own blind taste test.
Yeah, it would be fun.
It would be fun.
Couldn't tell the difference. How about that?
Now, and so that's really kind of true of tomatoes because tomatoes are so disease prone, as we know, as extension agents. One of the things that keep us busy in the summer are tomato problems. But there are a lot of other heirloom vegetables, and some of those, then the choices of the old heirloom varieties are certainly excellent choices. And I think of some of the lettuces and the kales, even some of the winter squashes and pumpkins.
Okay.
Some of those are old, tried and true varieties. And of course, when we say heirloom, we mean things that have been preserved and handed down through the generations and that has been true, reliable, that particular cultivar, or varieties, as a lot of people like to call them, is fine. So do those, and some of the places that you might find them, because sometimes those seeds can be difficult to find, although I'm finding them more and more even in the broad mainstream stores. But some of the catalogs that we use a lot at the station, because as you know, Jason likes to grow a lot of different things. Johnny's Select Seed, Seed Savers, Baker's Seed, all those are really good sources if you want to collect some of those heirloom varieties and try them out, and that's fun. Always trying to try new stuff. Yeah. Some kind of straddle, I want to talk a little bit about heirloom ornamentals too, because some kind of straddle both worlds. For example, the old scarlet runner bean is both an edible bean and an ornamental, and the hummingbirds love it, so those of us who love hummingbirds would like to grow that as well. And some of the old reseeding annuals that we'll find around old home places that come back year after year. Cleome comes to mind. Some of these old-fashioned petunias, will come back year after year on their own. And that, again, proves their durability and adaptability to our climate. And they do provide nectar for our butterflies and other pollinators. Also, some of the shrubbery that we think of sort of when we think of the Old South. And I think part of the value of having heirlooms is a sense of place. Because when we think of gardenia, when we think of camellia, even though Northerners do grow hydrangeas, it still gives that sense of an heirloom of a garden that comes from the past and has a feel of antiquity even. So that's pretty cool. And even some of the trees, when you think of the South and trees, the first thing that comes to mind is southern magnolia, which also happens to be a good native. A lot of people kind of forget that because we think of it purely as an ornamental, but if you get in your car and drive to the Gulf Coast, you'll find southern magnolia growing in the wild, and it's a great plant. Another one I think that straddles both worlds, because when I think of edibles, I'm not just thinking of human beings, I love the critters. So catalpa is often an old tree, a great native tree that you'd find around old home places, and people would often grow that for the caterpillars. For fish bait.
Good for fishing, right?
That's right.
My granddad did that.
Yeah, and now a lot of people are saying, well, I have a catalpa tree, but I don't have the worms, so how do I get them? You can seed them in if you go find a catalpa tree, but what a lot of people are doing is keeping the area too clean underneath because the pupa go to the ground and live in the ground. So if you're doing things to kill insects, which a lot of people do, below the tree, then you're actually destroying that life cycle. So you might want to think about how to leave that natural and let that continue its life cycle.
I'm glad you cleared it out because we've often gotten that question.
Yeah.
Where are the caterpillars?
Yeah, where are the caterpillars? So reseed them. I think that idea of combining, though, you know me, I'm a shopper.
Yes,
I
I
want
do.
to try the new stuff. And again, when we go back to improvements, some of these old-time plants can have some problems. So we have maybe better performing or longer blooming. So I don't disdain that. I think the human being as a species is always trying to improve things.
Sure.
I think that's an admirable quality. So new is good, but mixed in with the old and having a sense of tradition along with the new and modern stuff is the eclectic appeal, I think, of today's modern garden.
Right.
So,
Heirloom ornamentals. I wonder if folks have ever really thought about that. Because of course we always, equate heirlooms with vegetables, but
well, we do, but for example, the peony season is just over,
yeah,
and a lot of people will tell you they have their grandmother's,
Yeah.
or they might say peony.
Yeah.
Either one is correct.
Yeah,
Let me
that's
clear that up. Peony or peony or clematis or clematis.
Right.
So all that is fine, and then the irises and daylilies that have been passed on from year after
yeah, I didn't
year.
think about those.
Yeah,
Wow.
those are great plants and should also be considered heirlooms, but again, new cultivars appear all the time, and that's always fun to try as well.
Okay. Now, do you have any sites that folks can go to? If
Oh my
they want
gosh.
information about
There are
heirlooms?
tons, and if you Google heirloom, and in fact, a really great nursery, even though it's not in Tennessee, but a lot of my friends go and shop there whenever they're in Alabama, is called Petals from the Past.
I've heard of that.
You know, because you're from Alabama originally. Petals from the Past is a wonderful nursery that not only has a lot of heirlooms, but a lot of edibles, figs, persimmons, grapes, things that are well adapted to the South. Dr. Arlie Powell, it's his son that runs that nursery, so it's a great place to visit and get that sense of ambiance of the old past and also the edible. As you know, our summer celebration this year is going to be about edibles, so we're going to combine some of the old and some of the new, mixing in some of those herbs, because also the pioneer woman and the settler of the past, you grew your own herbs. So a lot of the herbs should also be considered, those are also heirloom plants.
Okay.
The old Salvia officinalis is actually sage, which is the characteristic taste that we get from our breakfast sausage.
Huh.
So it's actually a beautiful blue blooming salvia that our pollinators would love, but also a delicious plant for us to use in our cooking.
Wow.
And to celebrate our past.
And to celebrate the
And
past.
to celebrate our past.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff. Thank you much.
Sure.
All right.
Well, it's been a few weeks since we've planted our flowers, so now it's time to put down some pre-emergent. And the reason why we went pre-emergent down is it puts a nice bed across it coats the soil surface and the mulch surface, and it causes weed seeds to not be able to germinate up through that. So it will help on our weeding, so we'll have less weeding to do this year. So here we go, we're going to spread some out. Make sure to get clear to the edge of the sidewalk because weeds will grow along there too. And you just want to spread it evenly. You have to read the label directions. It will tell you how many granules, and sometimes it'll even give you a picture of how close they need to be together. And there we're done. Now, we have to water it in to activate it. So don't let it go too long without watering it. Less than 24 hours would be best.
All right, this is our Q&A session. And Mary, you jump in there with us if you have a comment, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here's our first viewer email. And believe it or not, it's a greeting card. It's in a
Cool.
greeting card. How about that?
Snail mail.
How about that? I enjoy your show each week. Hope you can help me out. Ground squirrels have taken up my corn twice. What do you suggest I do? I have gardened for years, and this is the first time this has happened. Thanks, and this is Lois from Wise, Virginia.
Well,
Wise, Virginia.
you're going national.
It's pretty good. So what do we think? Ground squirrels? Are we thinking maybe something else?
Chipmunks? Or chipmunks?
maybe?
Is that a local term for chipmunks? Because I think squirrels would do that too. But either way, we can talk about what we could do.
Okay. What do you think we could do?
Well, my first recommendation, because I'm an animal rescuer, is to find a Jack Russell rescue
Okay.
and adopt a couple of industrious Jack Russells. So that would help with either, because even though a Jack Russell can't climb a tree, they can surely run a squirrel up one.
All right.
And it might be a little destructive at first, but it might rid the property of the ground squirrels.
Okay. I'm trying to think of anything that I may know outside of trapping.
Trapping
Yeah,
or
live trapping.
electric fencing, low. Of course, I'm the kind of person who would shock myself.
Oh gosh, yeah, we don't want
I
you
could
to
hear
do
my
that.
dog screaming out there because
Yeah, we don't want you to do that. But yeah, live trapping is something that I know that that we do recommend at UT Extension. Snap traps you could probably use.
yeah.
What else could you use? Maybe I don't like the glue boards that much.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think those are inhumane.
I remember the first time I used one. I was so sorry.
Yeah, those are pretty tough.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there are no repellents that I know of that you can use. And we have an animal curator here, Mary.
Yeah,
Who may
Mary.
be able to help us out as well. Can you help us throw us out? Anything that you might suggest for ground squirrels?
Yeah, so ground squirrels, I think she's probably talking about chipmunks.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially the further north you go, sometimes they're referred to as ground squirrels, so
Okay.
chipmunks. Sometimes the best way is attracting their natural predators. So if you're seeing hawks in the area, things like that, that's a good sign because they like to eat the squirrels and chipmunks as well. So trying to attract those, maybe putting up an alternate food source to keep the chipmunks and squirrels away from your garden, and maybe
Okay.
at a feeding station.
Okay.
Snakes would eat them too.
Yeah.
Snakes will
Natural
eat
predators.
I like
chipmunk
snakes,
for sure
so,
too.
yeah.
So black rat snakes.
Encourage your snakes.
Yes, absolutely.
Encourage those good snakes. Okay, how about that? Or the last thing I could think of, you might want to plant early, and maybe they won't bother you as much. Plant early
I don't know.
if conditions present themselves for you to do that.
Do they? Do the ground squirrels not eat them early?
Maybe not. Maybe not. You just get them out there before they come around. Maybe.
Give them something they like better, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's something else as well.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Lois. So I hope that helps you out, and thank you again for watching. All right, here's our next viewer email. Which plant produces the fastest growing hedge of 6 feet or higher to promote privacy? And this is from Mr. Hank. Mr. Hank, guess what? You're in luck today. You're in luck
I
today.
know.
Miss Carol?
I preach privacy
Yes, you
screens.
do.
Number one, I like to mix them up. Don't
Okay.
like a solid species screen because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. We never know what new disease or pest is coming down the pipe. But probably one of the first ones out of my mouth as far as speed and adaptability to any situation, because he didn't tell us,
Right, that's
sunshade,
true,
wet or
true.
dry, is going to be southern wax myrtle.
Okay.
The southern wax myrtle grows very rapidly. It's also going to be wide and tall, so he didn't give us an idea on how wide we can go. Of course, you could prune it, but left on its own it'll be a large evergreen shrub, and it'll take most any situation you put it in. Its only flaw probably is it's brittle. In an ice storm or a windstorm, it can snap, but it will grow back so rapidly. Smells good, smells like bayberry candles. Can be found in most good nurseries in Memphis. So that would be one I would recommend.
And how long does it take to grow? you
Oh
think?
gosh, several feet a year. So
Oh, that's
it can
pretty good.
eventually end up, he just said taller than 6 feet.
Right.
So we're looking at least 15 eventually. So hopefully he can go that large. If not, he could keep it pruned.
Okay.
And the other one I would come up with, since he didn't tell us the growing situation, whether it's wet, dry, sun, or shade, would be yopine. Yopine is another native, it's a native holly that'll take both wet and dry sites, any kind of pH. Will tolerate some shade, and will form a dense evergreen screen, a little more scraggly in deep shade, but can be pruned to keep it dense. You could get weeping or upright. And again, we're looking at about 12 to 15 feet tall
Wow,
over
okay.
time. So, and don't look for the dwarf yopine. When you go in and ask for yopine holly,
Get your
they're
dwarf.
probably going to give you
Yeah.
that little moundy thing, but you want the tree form or the weeping form
Okay.
to get that height.
Okay.
So I'd mingle some of those, and if he's got sun or plenty of good drainage, there are a lot of other options. We could go with a lot of different kinds of hollies and cherry laurel, avoiding privet by all means.
yes.
Although it shouldn't be for sale anymore. It is illegal for sale or production in the state of Tennessee, but sometimes I still run across it with nurseries that don't seem to know better.
So
But,
it is illegal.
It
I
is
just wanna make
illegal.
Sure folks heard that.
It is illegal to produce or sell privet in the state of Tennessee. It certainly is.
Wow. All right, there you have it, Mr. Hank. Mary, Carol, thanks for being here today.
Sure.
All right. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To rewatch a segment or get more information on things we talked about on today's show, go to FamilyPlotGarden.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.